I think that the biggest obstacle to being homeless and trying to go to school is when you're worried about what you're going to eat for the night or where you're going to stay. It kind of trumps worrying about your homework.
I've had to raise myself ever since I was 13.
When I first left home, I was about 15. It was a little before my 16th birthday.
I was homeless when I was 17.
You don't always want to tell your friends what's going on.
So when it comes to being homeless, basically I was born into it. I didn't have a choice.
It's tempting to dismiss homelessness as a condition associated with big cities, an adult crisis driven by substance abuse or mental illness. In short, not a school problem. But of course, we know better. We know that some kids, through no fault of their own, find themselves without permanent places to live. Homelessness has increased in recent years with the rise of unemployment, home foreclosures, and poverty. In this video, we'll refer to homelessness as defined by the Department of Education.
The education definition of homelessness is the broadest definition at the federal level of homelessness. It's broader than the definition that HUD uses because it includes families who are living in doubled up situations, sharing housing, if the reason is because of economic hardship. It includes families who are living in hotels or motels, and it includes children who are awaiting foster care placement. Also children who are abandoned in hospitals or a similar type of situation. It also includes families who are living in shelters, families who are living in shelters for victims of domestic violence, families who are living in transitional housing, and families who are living completely unsheltered, living outdoors, camping, living in a van or a trailer pulled up on someone's property or something like that. So it really broadens the definition of homelessness beyond what most people would think of really living in a shelter or living under a bridge. And this is important because there are so many families who are not living in those stereotypical homeless situations, but they are without a stable place to live, and they're experiencing the same challenges in getting to school as families who may be living outdoors or in a shelter.
What's it like to be a kid without a stable place to call home?
I have to get up earlier in the morning sometimes.
Me and my boyfriend stayed in a tent on Comanche Creek.
People around here are always saying you can't make it.
I suffer from deep depression.
I'm not really lucky enough to go and stay the night at my cousin's house or, my other friends' houses.
And it was just so much stress that I couldn't concentrate on anything. I couldn't get anything done.
And we every day would go out and get cans to make money for about 8 hours.
They're always trying to squash my dreams.
And a lot of my teachers don't understand why I miss so much school.
I'd have to, go out and sleep on the bench.
At the end of the day, we'd go sit at Tower Mart and ask for change.
And I have missed a lot of school, which has made it really hard to get good grades.
And I started hanging out with friends, and then I ended up spending the night at friends' houses all the time.
And then at night, when it was getting dark, I tried to sit in our tent and hold a book light in my mouth and try to do my homework.
Anything that I was doing, I was just rushing through to get done as fast as I could so I could get out of school.
Children experiencing homelessness face many obstacles to achievement in both their school and their day-to-day lives. Some obstacles are easy to identify. Not enough food or money, no permanent place to live. Other barriers for these kids are less obvious: anxiety, distractions, lack of quiet places to study.
One of the big problems they have is getting to school in the first place. If they're moving around, or if they're camped or in a different spot every day, it's very hard to just even physically get to school. And so that's number one. And then number two, while they're in school, it's often hard to concentrate. They're hungry a lot of the time. Sometimes if their peers find out, they'll be subject to, teasing or bullying possibly. And then there's just the problem of the school not understanding. It can feel like the school is a very alien place. Oftentimes, I think that homeless students they don't maybe feel welcome, they don't feel totally supported there, and they start thinking of school as not a place where they're safe and they're stable, but as just another thing that they have to do that is really just kind of extra to their lives. You know, if they're out there surviving, that takes precedent over school a lot of times.
The Stuart B. McKinney Homeless Assistance Act of 1987 was the first piece of federal legislation to address homelessness in the U.S. The act has since been amended and expanded to address the educational needs of children in homeless situations. The U.S. Congress last reauthorized the McKinney-Vinto Homeless Education Assistance Improvements Act in the No Child Left Behind Act, which became law in 2002.
And it really requires that schools identify students who are experiencing homelessness. It requires immediate enrollment for a child who is homeless. The day they show up at school, they have a right to immediately start attending and eat free or reduced lunch at school that day. And they can do this without the documentation normally required. They are still expected to get their birth certificate and social security card and immunization records, but that shouldn't be a barrier for them getting into school that day. Schools are required to appoint a staff person who would be a liaison between the families and the school to ensure that the McKinney-Vento rights are being carried out. Schools should be posting information in their office in a language that's understandable to parents so they know that there is a resource, that there's a liaison, that the rights that their child has while they're in transition to stay connected to school.
The McKinney-Vento Act defines the rights of children experiencing homelessness and provides for many services to keep them in school and on track as much as possible. In Butte County, these services are facilitated by the School Ties program.
I coordinate a program at the Butte County Office of Education. It's called School Ties program, and we provide educational support to students who are in transition, students who are living in a homeless situation with or without their families. We provide educational support to keep them connected to school. So the idea is that we're maintaining those school ties or connections. Well, it's estimated that it takes between 4 and 6 months for a student to recover academically when they change schools. And children who are experiencing homelessness often have frequent moves.
The School Ties program is something that's been really beneficial to us, to them getting to school and getting home. We were living in paradise, and when we moved down here to the shelter, they really aided getting them back up to Paradise School instead of having to do all that transfer again. So I really appreciated that, and I know they did.
So if they're having to change schools each time that their homelessness is causing them to move, it's going to be really hard for them to stay on track.
I'm a military kid, so I know what it's like to move around from school to school. And so to keep them in one school like that was a really great program.
School plays a huge role in the life of a homeless student. It's the one thing they can count on, or they should be able to count on in their day, in their life. And what makes it exponentially more important than that is that's the real issue that homeless students deal with so often is instability. So all the more reason why the school as a whole needs to send out a message that this is your rock. This is a place where you can come every single day.
So the way I look at school, I feel as if it's a shelter. It shelters me.
They have to find a stable place, and they have to find really some stability in their mind.
I feel like all the teachers around, they care for me.
When everything else in their life may be chaotic, school may be the place that they have the most stable peer groups, support from adults, and that most stable environment.
But the principal's out there talking to students and either ripping somebody or giving them a hug. Kids kind of watching, I think they say, okay, maybe this is a place where I can open up, where I can trust somebody.
They put their hand out for me because they know that I'm struggling. Obviously they can't take me home or anything, but they do as much as they possibly can, and it's a lot better than being out on the streets. I could go and see some of my friends and actually have fun instead of being by myself, because when I'm by myself on the streets, it kind of feels lonely.
How can we begin to make a difference in the lives of homeless students? First, recognize the signs.
Behavior, are they acting out? Are they checking out of class? Are they not paying attention? Are they not doing any work? Are they like failing on purpose? Are they sabotaging themselves? Is their attendance starting to drop off? Particularly like at the beginning of the day, is it clearly becoming harder for them to get to school? That's usually an indicator that there's something not right. Or if they're trying to leave early, if they're cutting school and leaving early. Sometimes students cut because they have this illusion of freedom and this illusion of control, but other times it can be an indicator of needing to go get a job or go talk to somebody, or in some cases go self-medicate because they're overwhelmed by the circumstances.
So just really being aware of the types of living situations that students may be in, doubling up, tripling up with family and friends, not having a space of their own to sleep in. They may not have a place to do their homework. They may not be able to always return their library books on time because of frequent moves.
Get them talking if you can. Find ways to lend a hand. Even little things help.
Poke around a little bit, ask some questions within the context of their relationship. And if there is no relationship there, no connection there, which is sometimes the case, to let other people know what's going on.
If you are comfortable with telling somebody, just let them know that you just really need someone to talk to.
There's usually somebody here that the student has a connection with.
All my teachers knew that I was homeless, and they were really helpful.
I have had very good teachers, especially counselors.
They would let me come into school really early and sit there for as long as I needed to get all my homework done.
For some reason, they already knew something was wrong with me.
And so they were all really understanding,
letting me know that it was going to be all right.
Kira's been really understanding and helpful about...
Kira's one of the staff members.
She's been really kind to me and letting me come in half an hour to an hour early so I can make sure I practice.
They pulled me in their offices and talked to me, and they helped me.
And so for her to be able to come in even that half an hour early like that is really accommodating and really helpful.
That's pretty much all that you need, is just someone who understands what's going on that's not going to place judgment.
Every school district is required by law to have a liaison for homeless students. Find out who your school's contact is and make good use of the information and contacts they can provide. Familiarize yourself with organizations designed to assist students without stable housing, like youth drop-in centers, food pantries, and shelters serving homeless youth and families.
And then keeping a resource packet at the school site and being able to refer families to services for things like laundry and shelter and clothing.
Finally, just being a good listener can make the biggest difference.
While we can't always wave the magic wand and make it go away, lots of times people don't necessarily want that. They want to be heard and understood. They want to be encouraged. Sometimes they just want somebody just to listen to them.
Even with the bad things that were going on, there were people that were understanding and willing to listen to you talk. And those people really matter. They do.
I have all A's right now.
All A's. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them for that.
I mean, look at me. I mean, I'm living out on the streets and I'm still coming to school. School feels good to come to.
Connecting, reaching out one more time.
Like, what they have to understand is like, you're still a person. Like, you're not just a kid.
I think that's really what it's all about when you talk about the importance of stability for homeless students. It's about being able to provide a place for them to reach out and know that you're not going to burn them like everybody else has. You guys got me.